This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Digital Satellite Network, and across Europe and Asia on Euro Radio TV, in Brussels, Belgium, on Radio X, and everywhere else on this great planet and the far beyond on iHeartRadio. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. Our radio show program website is xzoneradiotv.com, and for all the information about the X-Zone Broadcast Network, who our hosts are, when their shows are, the archives, and much, much more, visit www.xzbn.net. My guest this hour is L.E.A.N, Mendelsohn, and Laura is a clairvoyant spirit medium. She is accredited as professional mental medium by ASSMPI. That's the American Society for Standards in Mediumship and Psychical Investigations. In an Afterlife data research medium, certified L.E.A.N health coach, graduate of Center for Spiritual Living Educational Programs, author of several books, and the Soul Psychic Healer Mediumship Certification Program, featured in Top 100 Psychics and Astrologers in America. She has been manifesting for over 50 years, channeling St. Ignatius Loyola as her master guide for over 30 years, discovering recently this is the same master guide to famed Brazilian healer John of God. And for more information on our guest this hour, and if you'd like to contact her for a one-on-one consultation after the show, X-Zone Nation, that is, www.spiritmediumlaura, and that's spiritmediumlaura.com. And Laura Mendelsohn, welcome back to the X-Zone. Always great speaking to you, my dear friend.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Laura, tell us what it was that happened in your life that put you on the path to being one of the most accredited mediums on this planet.
Oh, most accredited. Thank you. Well, I can't really put my finger on one thing other than I believe that we all have a purpose, and I wasn't interested in fulfilling my purpose earlier in life. So anybody that's interested in becoming a medium, usually you're going to be led there. Perhaps it might be an event that occurs in your life that moves you in that direction, or you just might have had the calling from a youthful time forward. In my particular case, I was very much geared towards making money and being successful in the outer world, business world. And even after acquiring millionaire status, a series of unlucky coincidences, shall we say, led me forward. I lost most of the money. I just kept being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Some might say that's stupidity. But, I did make the money to begin with.
That's right.
And it was the same person made it and then lost it. So I believe on a deeper level, my soul had a plan for me and moved me in this direction. Did I have a talent for this, an ability? Well, yeah, I was kind of like a closet medium for many, many years. wasn't using it, actually trying to fit in to the more materialistic context, business world, and or just the regular day-to-day life of human beings. And never did quite fit in there, but what I teach people and what we, through the sessions I have with clients, is this idea that when we align with our authenticity, we will swim with the current, we will be led, and we will find...
Laura, are you there? Laura, are you there? Well, Exonation, it seems that we lost Laura once again. We're having problems today with Skype and with every other form of communication. Somebody just texted me that Rob, Mercury is in retrograde. That explains a lot. When we come back from this commercial break, hopefully we'll have Laura Mendelsohn back with us. And Exonation, if you'd like to contact Laura, her website is www.spiritmediumlaura.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break, hopefully with Laura Mendelsohn, as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. This is live radio, folks. You have to love it.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and great news. We have Laura back. Laura Mendelsohn is our special guest, and her website is spiritmediumlaura.com. And welcome back.
Hi. Wow, what a day, huh?
It certainly has been. When and how did you have your first experience with spirit?
Great question. I was actually going to go. I was talking a moment ago about having purpose and all of that, and then I was thinking it sounds like I just had my first experience 30 years ago or whatever. But actually, when I was a baby, about 4 to 5, little child, I started to see things that were very frightening to me as I would go off to sleep at night, and I would see the last memory I have is of this man stepped out of the darkness, and he was yelling and screaming at me, and he was dressed like a farmer. I was in upstate New York that night. I was a little child, and I was so scared. But I thought back then it was, disincarnate beings, but I didn't have the words for it. So I started at a very young age.
Wow. What was it? Do you remember the first time you communicated with spirit? How you felt? Did you know who you were talking to?
Most of the time I felt frightened, but there was another being amongst the crowd, shall we say, that was friendly and felt familiar to me. And that was probably my master guide, although, again, I really didn't have full awareness of what was going on. But it felt frightening because I didn't know who they were unless it was around this more benevolent being who felt familiar and protective of me. Mm-hmm. And actually, that being came to my rescue once when I was around 5 or 4. Again, anywhere from 4 to 6 this is happening. I was trying to teach myself how to swim in the lake in upstate New York. And as I was flopping around on the surface of the water, I fell into the water.
Oh, no.
And I just sat there because I was a little kid. I didn't know about danger. And I started to just breathe in the water, mystified and, fascinated with everybody's legs around me, shall we say, because there's no lake filled with people.
Right.
It's like, oh, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, out of the right side of my body, I saw this white light coming in with the noise I always heard before I would have one of these supernatural experiences, with the sound that was like a party. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. But it would sound like a party that was getting louder and louder and louder. People chatting. And this white light comes in, and all of a sudden the being that was friendly to me was there and said, "Get out!" And I went up out of the water, running to the shore, as best I could, and tried to explain it to my mother, who must have been talking about a tuna casserole or something with some other woman there, and paid no attention to me whatsoever. I was like, a little kid, like, what the heck just happened, But so an innocent question of how did it feel brought all that information out of me. Wow. Oh, I want to talk to you about the party sound.
Oh, please, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know what that was, and nobody was to explain it to me until maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. I met somebody who had recently gone to the Monroe Institute. Mm-hmm. He does, I think it's Robert Monroe, right? I don't remember his full name, but the Monroe Institute is for out-of-body experiences. And she said there's a party sound, a party noise you will hear before you switch dimensions and have an out-of-body experience. So she went through the steps and described what would happen. And I said, oh, that's what was happening to me. I was having an out-of-body experience. I didn't know what it was. And that allowed me to see, souls in a different dimension, an astral plane probably.
Interesting. Sometimes, maybe you can help me understand something. Sometimes when I'm laying in bed, and after I've been in bed for a while, I feel as if I'm vibrating like crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and somebody once told me that was a prelude to an out-of-body experience, but I've never been able to get past the vibrational feeling. And yet when I have dreams, I have wild dreams. They're all lucid. Like, I have dreams within dreams within dreams within dreams.
Wow.
And to find out if I'm dreaming or if it's reality, I try and read something, whether it's a menu, whether it's a newspaper, whether it's a sign on a building. And if I can't read it, I know I'm having a dream, and that's when I start having fun.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So is there a difference between an out-of-body experience and a dream, or can they be at times one and the same?
I think it's like lucid dreaming is how we bring the two together. A lucid dream would be an out-of-body experience where you're in an altered brainwave state. Mm-hmm. However, your cognitive abilities, your day-to-day ability to understand what's going on is traveling along with you. Now, I am not an expert in this subject, although it's fascinating. I have so many other things going on that I'm working on, but I do know that I've had a couple of other, I regularly had them as a child, didn't understand it. And then I did have one which I was aware of. And it wasn't a trembling in my body. It was a daydream state when you were, imagine that you woke up in the morning and you don't get out of bed right away, for example.
Right, okay.
Sunday morning. And you're just lying there in this kind of like half awake, half sleep state. And during one of these half awake, half sleep morning times, right after my mother had passed away. She passed away in December of 2004, and then April of 2005, this happened. I was lying in bed in a half awake state, and suddenly I became aware, and that's the key phrase here, became aware that my consciousness, my visual field, we'll use that as a way to describe consciousness, suddenly floated up out of my body, and looked down at me, and then looked towards the hallway, and then drifted out of my bedroom into the hallway, and then drifted down the hallway, looking down the hallway. And there I saw my mother had deceased in this house. There she was, walking towards me, like fully back in a carnal state, her whole body and everything seeming to be. And she just sashayed past me down the hallway, running an errand or something, doing something. And there I was, like a periscope of consciousness that had floated out and was watching her. As soon as I realized what was going on, then I went right back into my body, frightened actually. So with the shaking, I would assume the person who told you it was the beginning or an aspect of an out of body. But learning how to be aware while you're in a dream state would be a good definition of lucid dreaming as well as out of body.
Oh, super. What does it feel like when you go into a full trance state to bring a soul from the other side? You know, how do you do that? What's it feel like? What sense do you get when you're actually crossing that veil into the other world, the other dimension?
Okay, there's two parts to that. One part is I actually have been in a full trance state. And again, it was before I knew what was going on, because quite often, and this is interesting for everyone listening to get or hear, is when we understand or when we have our conscious mind involved, it can inhibit things from happening. You know, it can stop you from fear or just trying to control what's going on. But when I was much younger, I won't say the age, but when I first started channeling my guide, St. Ignatius Loyola, I was very relaxed about it. I didn't really know. I didn't have any kind of preconceived attitude. I didn't understand what was going on. I was just very open about it. And the man in my life at the time who had inadvertently opened this window of perception for me through a series of events, he didn't do it specifically, but he was a catalyst. I was at his home, and he asked me if I would channel his main guide. He'd been going regularly to a full trance medium in Manhattan. This is during the 80s, early 80s. And I'd been going to the same medium. I can't remember the guy's name. Don't even ask me. He's probably long since gone. But anyway, I said, okay, not knowing what I was getting into. And all of a sudden, and this is something I can talk about in a moment, all of a sudden I felt this huge swoop of energy come in over me, like whoop. And my consciousness encapsulated to a tiny little speck in the upper right portion of my vision field. In other words, the only awareness I had that I was me was this little tiny pinhole I was looking through, the upper right portion of my vision field. I was aware of the fact that my body had another entity in it and was talking. It was having a full conversation, but I couldn't hear the conversation, and I couldn't see the room. I couldn't see my friend. I could only see that little dot up there. And this went on for a while. And again, I was not nervous. I was not scared because I was ignorant. I didn't know what was going on. And when it ended, the entity went whoop out of me, and I was back in the room. Now, I don't know if that happened because the entity was powerful enough to have operated me as if I was some sort of a car, you know. It just jumped in and knew how to take over the controls, you know. I think that's kind of like what happened. But since then, the way it goes now is because my conscious mind has entered into the equation. I don't go, I could probably, if I wanted to go to development circle and focus on that, but I don't go to full trance any longer. And just over time, over learning how to let go, learning how to do these, how to operate the controls of perception to another dimension. For example, I have learned how to focus better. I have learned what is coming from spirit, how it feels a little different than what is coming from my own mind. And to let you know, the feeling is more like it just kind of happened to me versus me asking or making or forcing. So the difference is a feeling between me forcing something or me activating something versus something coming towards me or into me, or, you know, that I'm hearing. I'll give you a little example. Today I was in a sitting, and it was a really good sitting. And all of a sudden I hear Ave Maria from this, and I know it wasn't coming from me because I had no reason to say that. I had an entity with me, the deceased loved one, Aunt Marion, and Aunt Marion started to sing that through me. And I'm sitting with clients in front of me, and so the woman in front of me gasped and put her hand over her mouth. And I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "Well, that's Va Marie, Va Marie." I said, "What do you mean Va Marie?" "Oh, Va Marie's our grandmother's name. It's Gaelic for Marie, and Gaelic, Va Marie." So, in other words, things will come in and they feel kind of tickly, almost like I don't know why I'm singing Ave Maria, and then suddenly it means something.
All right, Laura, you and I have to take a break. When we come back, X Zone Nation, Laura Mendelsohn is going to sing Ave Maria for us. And, I'm just kidding with you. I'm just kidding with you there. And if you'd like to contact Laura for a one-on-one consultation, X Zone Nation, www.spiritmediumlaura.com. That's www.spiritmediumlaura.com. And if I was a medium, the website would be spiritextraextraextralargerob.com. We'll be back. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Laura Mendelsohn is our special guest this hour. Her website is spiritmediumlaura.com. So here you were in front of these ladies, and you started singing Ave Maria, and just to find out that this was the Celtic name of the grandmother of the person that you were sitting in front of. How did you feel?
Tickly, laughy, giggly, because I just love it. It wasn't her name, Ave Maria. It was Va Marie, It was Spirit's way of getting it through me. And it's just tickly, you know. It makes you feel kind of giggly. Oh, God. Like you had a glass of champagne without any alcohol.
Wow, that's called water.
So it's fun. It's just a miracle a minute. Working with Spirit is a constant. Everything we are taught to expect in reality is contradicted when you have these experiences. And of course, it makes you wonder, well, what is reality? Because reality is far more than our five senses can allow us to see.
Doing what you've been doing for so long with the accuracy and the proven track record, How do you explain reality? What is your definition of reality as you, Laura Mendelsohn, know it?
Well, first I just want to say something about my accuracy. First of all, I wasn't always accurate. Everybody listening, it's a shaping process, like biofeedback to the soul, if you will. How do I explain, or what is reality? That is such a great question, Rob. You should get a Pulitzer Prize for that question, or some kind of prize.
Well, I do have that prize. You're on the show. See, I won.
Okay, thank you. Well, to me, I like to study things like quantum physics and all that. So, because I do try to understand what is real, I think reality is a possibility. It's a thinking, like the entire infinite universe is a thought, is a consciousness, and it is a potential of something. And as we, in this particular dimension, measure it in some way, observe it, i.e., it becomes something. So we are infinite potentiality until we claim something. And this is at a quark level or quantum level, that a potential matter or a physical thing has no real definition until it is measured, either speed or mass is measured. So it goes in terms of our own lives, our own experiences. Everything is really part of how we see it, what we label it, what we call it, and learning how to access that part of our nature, our potential. We all have this potential, is evolution. I believe at some point in the future, human beings will be able to, at will, be able to create through their thinking, through their minds, and through activation of this co-creative facility we're given innately as a human being. So I don't know if that sounds too woo-woo, but...
Actually, no, it sounds a lot like the holodeck aboard the Star Trek, the Enterprise in the New Generation. And I believe that this will be possible. I also believe in the saying, if you confess it, you will possess it, the power of positive thinking.
Yes, exactly. Recently, I've been introduced through a series of coincidences to the potential of something like, well, hypnosis is a good example, but different kind of hypnosis. One where the hypnotist activates our higher self or our wisdom center. That's one way. And another, so I had a recent session and it floored me. I really got rid of a phobia in one session. And the other thing is essential oils is another part of this, in that they go to the limbic system. They activate or bypass the conscious mind to the autonomic nervous system, or the lizard brain, if you will, and through a process called entrainment, which means each essential oil has a particular frequency to it. When it enters into your system will entrain to that frequency. And when you do, if you're using an oil for emotional healing, for example, you can heal without doing anything other than allowing that process to be, using the oil, if it's a high quality, high grade oil. And I have used some oils, and I found that the results were stupendous. So shaping reality is becoming a reality more and more each day. We are becoming more adept as humans in learning how to do this. I'm very, very fascinated to see what the future will bring with all of this.
So do you believe that we are now entering the next step of our evolutionary tract as humans?
Yes, I believe we've kind of actually entered it. I guess people would call that the ascension and give it a specific date, but I'm going beyond that. I'm going beyond my own anecdotal observation. For example, one of the things that amazes me are our phones, smartphones. God, I think we should put it on the floor at night before we go to bed, and it'd probably clean up our whole house for us. They're so intelligent.
I tried that. It wouldn't work.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, what was unthinkable 10, 15 years ago, they're doing, and they do it better than the computer already, and they're leapfrogging. I mean, they're coming up with apps on these phones that can diagnose health problems.
Yes.
That can take your breath and come up with a diagnosis. So in that reality, which it's ubiquitous, everybody's getting their smartphones, including third world developing countries. It's shaping our consciousness. We are being shaped through technology, and vice versa. Our consciousness is creating the technology, so sort of like a circle or, a back and forth kind of thing, a symbiotic relationship, if you will. But I believe in who knows what's going to happen in 5 years. I mean, everything is just geometrically increasing in terms of awareness. I think artificial intelligence is supposed to this is a little scary, surpass the human mind's ability to reason logic by 2024. So, no, that's just a date. I mean, things can change, but I don't know. I mean, we're in very fast-moving times, Rob. Very, very fast-moving times.
The times that we are presently in with these technological advances, and the smartphone and the smart car are two good examples of that. How is this affecting the existence on the other side with those that you communicate with?
Well, I haven't asked them yet. That's a great question, but I have noticed that it seems that this is a renaissance of spiritual practitioners, mediums, channelers, and it has been said that the frequency on Earth is, for those who are aligning with it, has gotten higher. Whatever that really means, I'm not quite sure. But let's say our vibration on Earth, for those people who are willing to align with it, has increased. We've raised our frequency, our consciousness, the way we think about things, and even our idea that we're no longer victims of a patriarchal paradigm, but we have the power. We're all empowered. That's a rising frequency, and I believe in turn this dimensions 4 and 5 have come closer to Earth. So we're the veil between other dimensions. A higher dimension, a faster dimension, a lighter dimension is melting away. And so you see more and more people being born with spiritual activation, ability to see, know, feel, see, and have the psychic abilities, the out-of-body experiences, the advent of indigos and crystals and all these funny names they give them and everything else. It's just becoming, I find, even in my own work, people wanted to have their fortune told. Nowadays, people want to be shown more and more. They still want it told, but more and more they want to understand the Gestalt, understand how they're participating and engage in co-creating the reality that they're experiencing. So, yeah, it's everything is shifting. Consciousness is shifting.
Why I was asking about the other side and the effects that modern technology may be having on them, it wasn't a smart aleck question. It's because even with the creatures on this side, for example, bees, birds, and other species that use electromagnetic navigational grids to migrate, to find things, are disappearing. For example, the honeybees. Ever since there's a direct correlation between the number of cell towers and the decline of the honeybee. So I'm figuring, well, if it can have that effect on a molecular level on this side with an electromagnetic field, where's how's it affecting the other side?
I don't have an answer. I'm thinking, and I don't want to go into a trance and do any channeling right now.
Sure, I understand that, yeah.
But let me just see if anything comes to mind. I know that there's the ability to physically perceive using instruments we have, for like paranormal investigators and so on, they have instruments to perceive electromagnetic fields, for example, which is what you're bringing in here. Okay, but the idea that's coming in right now is that when they want to be perceived, they're able to project an EM field, electromagnetic field, and if they don't want, they don't, because they can live in a purely non-physical where they don't always have to have electromagnetic fields when they're in their own environment, for example. So they're showing me, and this could be wrong, okay, but this is what I'm getting right now, and I will I will share this with you, is that when spirit wants to be perceived in the physical realm, it's sending these things out almost like flashlights. Electromagnetic fields. Okay. Now, how are they interfacing with the EMs on the planet? Let me just see what they say. We don't really necessarily need that or not need it. We're able to deliver what we need where we need it, and we're not infiltrated by those that are created by man. Ours have a different nature to them and or a different way that they're projected. So we're not affected by it is the ultimate answer, is what I'm getting. Could be right, could be wrong, but that's the answer I'm getting. So I'm sending that to you.
Well, okay, and that makes me feel good, because I certainly wouldn't want to know that we are inadvertently being disrespectful for those who have already passed. And I think there's enough disrespect at times shown towards spirit by certain members of society who would rather taunt a spirit rather than respect a spirit.
Oh, that's such a good point, I think a lot of people view it as fascinating entertainment. Yeah. And, I hear you. There should be respect. There should always be respect.
Laura, please stand by, my dear. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Fascinating conversation, X Zone Nation, with a fascinating young lady. Her name is Laura Mendelsohn. And if you'd like to contact Laura for a one-on-one consultation, her website is www.spiritmediumlaura.com. That's www.spiritmediumlaura.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and my very special guest this hour is Laura Mendelsohn. Her website is spiritmediumlaura.com. And like I was saying to you on the commercial break, Laura, I want to thank you and other credible mediums like yourself who bring closure and heal those on this side so that they can better understand and have their hearts healed at a very difficult time in their lives. So thank you very much for all the great work that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that and feel, I don't know, I'm speechless because I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. I just try I try to participate as best I can. And, it's an interesting point you make about healing because, you could bring a horse to water, excuse the hackneyed phrase, but you can't make him drink. So mediumship is a tool,
Yes.
but maybe not helping everyone, that comes to it. Although, being as developed as possible and as ethical as possible and as evidential as possible, then you're doing your part. But if the sitter gets healed, that's great. If it helps the sitter heal, that's even, that's great. And if it doesn't, I'm neutral. I actually just show up and do what I'm supposed to do.
I was just thinking that I took it a little one-sided when I said you help those on this side. But I'm sure that you also help those on the other side who are fortunate enough to make the connection through you so that they can share their love and, give the person on this side the closure that they need. Closure, I would imagine, is a two-way street. I know love is.
That's a very, yes, true. Recently I was doing mediumship for a man and, I didn't know who he'd lost because that's, you're supposed to have spirit provide. And in comes this woman who, at first he didn't understand who she was. And I said, but she's very clear in front of me. And I gave him all this information. And then he said, oh, I get it. She's my neighbor who just passed away. And this soul and spirit was elated that he remembered finally. Everything fit. And she said, tell my two children I said hello. So she wanted to use his session as a way to provide information of her, her survival, if you will, in the spirit world through his session. And then his son came in from the other side.
Oh, wow.
So he was there for his son. But the session was hijacked by another soul who had a lot of, had a reason to be there. And quite often when I do the radio show, that'll happen where all of a sudden I'll get somebody in that nobody expected. And it's because there was something it was very much needed. Spirit needed the opening to deliver an unexpected message or what have you. So, yeah, very, very true what you're saying.
Has there ever been a time, Laura, where someone has asked you to communicate with the other side, you make the connection, and the spirit says to you, I don't want to talk to them? No way.
That the sitter says that, or
the spirit?
That the spirit says that?
Yeah.
Usually it's the other way around. If the one in spirit, sometimes the one in spirit does not show up. That is true. Yes. But more often it is that the soul and spirit will show up, but the sitter doesn't want to talk. That was during one of my research sessions, one of the research mediumship with Afterlife data. One of the sitters, I was having problem making connection. Finally, this male comes in and says he's her father, and he was an alcoholic. He abused her, and he said all of this stuff in a big, huge apology, and she was angry. She didn't want to speak to him. She was angry with me as well. But everything was correct. She wanted me to bring in somebody else, but you see, it's not like that. And a lot of people don't realize that spirit is more in control of this than we realize. I can ask, and more often than not, I'll get an answer of what I need. But really, they're the ones that are sort of in the background, like the puppeteer, pulling the strings and making it all happen. They can see more of everything of what's going on than we can. We're sort of, we're looking through a peephole at them, and they can see everything else. So the answer is, more often than I see it, that these soul and spirit is coming in to say they're sorry, to make retribution, to say something to somebody they hurt. A lot of suicides come in. The first thing they'll say is, I'm sorry for what I did to you and to myself. And yeah.
How do you How do you cope with the emotional roller coaster that you must endure on a daily basis? You know, dealing with the souls on both sides of the veil that you deal with.
Well, that is one of the downsides, if you will, or it's the overhead of the profession. You know, if I was a construction worker and was building a 100-story building, my risk would be falling off the scaffolding. And in my business, even though I've learned how to detach, even though I've learned how to remain as impartial and as objective as possible, I still get hit quite a bit when something is extremely emotional and poignant. And quite often, spirit will use my own emotional equipment, emotional bank, my own feeling nature as part of the discernment. It's part of the evidence. So, it's rough. It can be rough, but you do what you have to do, and you attempt to be as to take it as much in stride as possible. That's what I do with it. I do as much clearing as I can, and I do as much development as I can to be as objective as I can, and then I just kind of go with it. At times, having that feeling is also extremely glorious because you're getting to feel the love between two people. It's as if you're the human conductor of that emotion. It can be quite beautiful.
Tell us a little bit about your radio show.
Well, I do a blog talk radio show Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and Wednesdays is an optional one at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and there's a link to that. The link is spiritmediumtv.com because I also simultaneously produce it to YouTube on my YouTube channel.
Excellent.
Yeah, and basically I'm doing a focus subject, group channel message, and then I do other side connections, and then I do life reading / healings. And that's it. It's a blast.
Tell me about your connection with God of John.
Yeah, that's interesting. Unbeknownst to me, over 30 years ago, I started orally channeling guides after I was told that I was supposed to do that by a spiritual reader. And the name that came through as my guide was St. Ignatius Loyola. So I says, okay. I didn't know anything. I was raised Catholic, but I wasn't particularly into that at the time. But I called him Ola for short. And we had a grand old relationship for years. And then about maybe about 2 years ago or so, as spirit started to lead me into more clairvoyant healing during sessions, these are regular life reading sessions, not other side connections.
Right.
When somebody comes to me with a big problem they can never get over. The message coming in, oh, this is a systemic problem. It's come in from other lifetimes, and Spirit starts showing me chakras and gives me a whole gestalt of them as if I was doing an Akashic record reading, and teaching me how to channel colors, light, affirmations, and prayer to heal them, or to be not me healing them, but to be a facilitator of a healing. And around that time, I also found out that St. Ignatius Loyola was the master guide to the master entity to John of God. That's the terminology they use. I like that terminology. Master entity to John of God. I was like, really? That's weird. And then I found out, again through a series of synchronicities, I asked to go to Poland. They wanted me to do some healing there. I didn't go, by the way, for various reasons. But I started to research a little bit more about the healings of John of God. And then I found out, when John of God does a healing, he sends the patient to their hotel after the healing, and that's where the real healing happens. A clairvoyant medium reported as I was studying this. I got it through her. And all the things that they're doing, the entities are doing with her, they're having conversation about when this happened, when that block happened, with this past lifetime, all the gestalt behind it was revealed and released and let go during her 24 hours in her hotel room. I said, gosh, that's what I'm doing. When I work with clients, that's what I do. So I just see that obviously St. Ignatius Loyola has a broad band of bandits from spirit that are out there working through various different mechanisms to get their work done. And I happen to be one of the mediums, I guess, that works with that.
Well, and I'm very glad that you do the wonderful work you do, Laura. As always, whenever you're with us, our time goes by very fast. Congratulations for all you do. Congratulations on your radio show. And if they go to your website, are the links to your radio show on there?
It's hard to find because I asked them to join my mailing list.
Okay.
So if you went to spiritmediumlaura.com, on the sidebar, which could be right or left depending on the on what's going on there. So look on right or look on the left, you'll see join mailing list to gain access to free readings. And there you can enter your email and we can start a relationship.
Laura, thank you so much for joining us, and take care of yourself. Have a wonderful summer, and I look forward to the next time you're back here with us in the X Zone. Until then, be well, my friend.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, honey.
Bye-bye now. X-Zone Nation, Laura Mendelsohn has been my guest this hour, a wonderful lady with a great heart and the ability to help people, and she does that well. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.